A Rutgers history professor has solved it. He has solved economics. He has figured out that savings and investment do not matter. I'm serious. It's all the consumers. It's all consumer spending. We've solved it. We're going to tell you all about it. I'm Alan Barton. Stand by for the front page. Joining me in studio, Yaron Brook, president of the Ayn Rand Center for Individual Rights, and Terry Jones, associate editor for Investors Business Daily. Well, this is one of the most exciting segments we have ever done here on Front Page because it's finally been solved, all of economics. History professor James Livingston wrote in an op-ed in the New York Times, and he said the following: "I'm going to let you in on the best-kept secret of the last century. Private investment, that is, using business profits to increase productivity and output, doesn't actually drive economic growth. Consumer debt and government spending do. Private investment isn't even necessary to promote growth." There it is. Done. Solved it. Economics. Solved. Terry? Victory lap, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I stand corrected on everything I believe.
Who knew that a history professor would be the one finally to solve these issues that have been vexing us for centuries?
This is what passes for wisdom these days in the New York
Times.
Now,
to talk about it seriously, he says he hinges it all on one statistic that GDP basically has gone up 600% in this last 100 years that he's talking about, while net business investment is down 70% as a share of GDP. So is this a valid statistical analysis? Because it seems to me like he's cramming a statistic into a preformed thesis.
No, yeah, it's utterly stupid, and I'm surprised he didn't talk to somebody in the economics department. They could have told him it was stupid.
It's across the quad.
Yeah, well, it's true. On. You know, every dollar of investment we have now is magnified by the fact that we have technology. Embedded in that dollar of investment is technology, is R&D, and a far more productive labor force and well-educated labor force. That means we leverage dollars, investment dollars, far better than we did before. Just as 200 years ago, 98% of our workers were working in agriculture, and today we only work only about 1%. We don't go hungry. We have tremendous amounts of food in this country. We export food. Well, we export goods and services. We make lots of things here, and particularly services. We're very good at those.
So failed statistical analysis here, according to Terry. You're on.
No, you're just not getting it, Terry.
Yeah.
It's the fact that we eat more that fact in and of itself generates more plants to grow. Right? Nobody actually has to plant them and harvest. That's old-fashioned economics. Stuff just happens because I want it and need it and consume it.
This guy doesn't even mention Keynes. Is this even a Keynesian argument, or is this some bizarre hybrid, weird offshoot?
This would embarrass Keynes. I mean, what Keynes said is there's certain moments in economics and in history where there is this liquidity trap. And in order to get the engine going, you have to pump it by getting people to consume, and that consumption generates business activity and business investment, and then you withdraw that. This isn't about that. This idea is this. I think it's been tried somewhere. I think it was called Soviet Union.
Yeah, it worked.
It basically says private investment doesn't matter. Private enterprise doesn't matter. Entrepreneurship doesn't matter. What matters is the wants of the people, the desire to consume, and government spending. And that's communism. This is pure Marx. There's nothing here. I mean, literally, Keynes would be embarrassed by this kind of logic. Even he was a better economist than this. And as you know, I don't think very highly of Keynes. This is like, what's embarrassing here is the New York Times, which used to be, you didn't agree with them. But at least they were in the range of sanity.
There was some intellectual honesty.
This is truly dishonest and insane.
Maybe we're being too negative about this, because let's look at a little bit more what the history professor has figured out here. He says corporate profits do not drive economic growth. They're just these restless sums of surplus capital.
It's Marx.
You see. Since the Reagan Revolution, these superfluous profits have fed corporate mergers, takeovers, driven the dot-com craze. It wasn't a craze, but it wasn't an industry. It was just, it was a craze. Nothing came out of that. It was just a craze. And it financed the shadow banking system of hedge funds and securitized investment vehicles, fueled monetary meltdowns in every hemisphere, and inflated the housing bubble. All right? Are we still standing by our guns here that this guy has not solved economics?
Yeah, this guy really hates profits and doesn't seem to understand they are the engine of it all. You know, these are the things that feed the basic engine of capitalism. Profits.
Now, he tips his hat here. I mean, we've been so ironic through this whole thing, but twice in this article he alludes to the 99%, 1% BS fallacy that has been promulgated by the OWS people and all these demonstrations. And they can't define what the 99% versus the 1% is. Is it income? Is it wealth? Is it material aggregation? Is it productivity? Nothing. It's just 99.1, and he alludes to it twice, which shows you that he's tipping his hat.
This guy is a pure Marxist. I mean, the language he uses, the way he comes at this, he really is a Marxist. And look, there's a really simple way to show that this is complete nonsense. Everything I consume, from this cup to the table, anything I buy, has to be made by somebody. It has to be produced by somebody. So there has to be equal amount, at least equal amount, of money going into production and jobs and equipment and raw materials to make this cup for me then to go and buy it. So the idea that we can consume more than we can produce. And of course, how do I get the money to buy this?
The government.
I didn't actually buy,
That's a
buy
free
this.
PJTV
It's a
cup.
free
We get
PJTV
that free for working.
But the stuff that I actually do buy, how do I get the money? By producing stuff. Every one of us produces things. We earn money as a consequence, and then we consume it. So production is always the beginning. You can't consume until you've produced, so you can trade with somebody else, and you can't consume something that hasn't been produced by somebody else. So yes, the end is consumption.
I don't know.
Yeah, I know, it's old-fashioned.
Sounds very old-fashioned to me, very common sense, whatever. Well, Your Honor and Terry do not believe that the professor has solved economics for us, so maybe we have to keep on fighting the good fight. All right, guys, thank you. For Your Honor and Terry, I'm Alan Barton. Thanks for watching Front Page.